25. The Great Ghost Rescue. I'm not gonna lie to you, this is a totally average film and it's hard to imagine any adult being fond of the story, directing, or even the acting. However, if you want a movie similar to something like Casper, then there's a small chance you might actually enjoy this. It's got a warm, happy feel to it, and I'm pretty sure that kids under the age of 7 will like it. 24. The Haunted Mansion. Despite how hard Eddie Murphy and Jennifer Tilly try to make this film enjoyable with their mediocre at best performances, the directing and plot unfortunately ruin any chances of that happening. However, if you're willing to ignore a way too simplistic plot and Eddie Murphy's downfall from the awesome comedian he once was, this family horror comedy might still be worth watching on Halloween night. 23. Jennifer's Body. I'm not quite sure if this comedy horror film is an ideal pick for every family member, but if you're a single dude, and I do stress single, who isn't brave enough to watch a true horror flick and at the same time isn't in the mood to watch a lighthearted Disney TV movie, then go for this bad film which stars the sexy Megan Fox in the most evil role so far of her career. 22. Halloweentown. In this Disney TV movie, you will find nothing but sweet characters, a feel-good storyline, and some really good acting by the likes of Debbie Reynolds and Kimberly J. Brown. This movie is a good reminder that Halloween night doesn't necessarily have to mean excessive graphic violence and buckets of blood. 21. The Monster Squad. This is one of those 80s imaginative kids adventure films with a really catchy story that is well written and has monsters that look great but aren't hideous or too scary. I highly recommend it to all softies out there who can't stand violent horror films, and for those who have already seen it, it's a great chance to bring back childhood memories, so why not watch it again with your kids if you have them. 20. Haunted Honeymoon. Gene Wilder plays Larry Abbott, a performer in the radio horror shows of Manhattan Mystery Theater who takes his fiancée to the spooky castle in which he grew up in order to meet his eccentric family. Gilda Radner co-stars as Wilder's fiancée and gives a great comedic performance. She was also his real-life wife, and on a sad side note, she found out she had ovarian cancer during filming, from which she died 3 years later. 19. Van Helsing. I have to admit that without the impressive visual effects and the two talented actors Hugh Jackman and the gorgeous Kate Beckinsale in the main roles, this movie would be mediocre at best. However, I enjoyed it and can assure you that it makes a great 2-hour viewing experience for your Halloween afternoon. 18. Corpse Bride. Corpse Bride is the result of Tim Burton's attempt to conquer the world of animation, and to be quite honest, he did a pretty good job. He hired the voices of his two big loves, aka Johnny Depp and his female muse Helena Bonham Carter, and delivered an animated horror romance musical with a unique atmosphere. I highly recommend it. 17. Monster House. This animated movie is reminiscent of great 80s classics such as The Goonies, and that's a good thing. The animation is great. The voice talent of Steve Buscemi, Jason Lee, and Nick Cannon is outstanding, and the plot is simply awesome. At times it can be a little too scary for the little ones, but Monster House is still suitable for all ages and will make the perfect starter for a Halloween night movie marathon. 16. From Time to Time. This relatively unknown film is about a young boy who goes to stay at his grandmother's stately home during the Second World War and discovers the house's secret ability to transport him back in time. This is a joyful ghost story with beautiful cinematography and a lighthearted mood. 15. Hotel Transylvania. This is an excellent choice if you want to spend some quality time with friends and family on a Halloween night. Vampires, zombies, and werewolves may be thought of as scary, terrifying creatures, but after you watch this touching animated movie, you might just feel sympathy for them. 14. The Good Witch. A beautiful but mysterious woman is the new girl in town, and as her luck would have it, she rents the local haunted mansion, which makes everyone wonder if she's a witch or the reincarnation of the Grey Lady. If this reminds you of a cheaper version of the splendid 2000 film Chocolat, just know that you're not the only one who has noticed the obvious influence. 13. Sleepy Hollow. The visual aspects in Sleepy Hollow are first rate. Tim Burton's directing is of the highest quality. Johnny Depp's performance as Ichabod Crane is outstanding, and the plot is heavily inspired by Washington Irving's classic short story, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. What's there not to like about this film, really? 12. Hocus Pocus. The critics didn't like this film, which in reality is a beautiful, charming tale of 3 Salem witches who are accidentally resurrected by a teenage boy. Bette Midler plays the leader of the witches, the hilarious and almost frightening Winifred. A young Sarah Jessica Parker is the fresh, sexy, but dense Sarah. And Kathy Najimy is the playful Mary. 11. Beetlejuice. No matter how many times you have watched this film, you just can't get enough of it. Directed by Tim Burton, Alec Baldwin with Gina Davis are two recently deceased ghosts who try to scare away the new occupants of their home by enlisting the help of Beetlejuice, the bioexorcist, who is played by Michael Keaton. 10. Dracula, Dead and Loving It. Mel Brooks, as usual, delivers another insanely good satire with the one and only Leslie Nielsen as Count Dracula. The movie is superbly acted, with great one-liners by both Dracula and Dr. Van Helsing. The only problem I have with this film is that if someone hasn't watched the original masterpiece by Francis Ford Coppola, Bram Stoker's Dracula, he or she will most likely not understand the humor in some scenes. 9. The Ghost and Mr. Chicken. A typesetter for a small-town newspaper is chasing his dream of becoming a big-time reporter by spending a night in an alleged haunted house. There are no special effects here, and the production isn't super expensive. However, one of the greatest comedic TV actors of all time, the 5-time Emmy Award winner Don Knotts, is at his finest and will have you in tears with a comedy that at times is mildly scary too. 8. Bud Abbott and Louis Costello Meet Frankenstein. There are quite a few critics who have called this film the best horror comedy ever, and I will have to agree. Keep in mind that this was made back in the late 40s, so if you're expecting wild visual effects and a costly production, then this might not be the right film for you. 7. Paranorman. Paranorman is a really funny and suspenseful animated film with a great use of non-computer graphic technology for the characters and for some really spooky scenes that the bravest watchers will enjoy. More importantly, and this may surprise you, but there are significant life lessons for all of us, regardless of age, expressed throughout the story. 6. Frankenstein Jr. In this classic film starring the hilarious Gene Wilder, we are introduced to Dr. Frankenstein's grandson, who has been living for ages in the shadow of his grandfather's legacy. Eventually, he inherits his grandfather's castle, and full of confidence, he believes that his time has finally come. In a desperate attempt to surpass his ancestors' glory, he goes on repeating his experiments, but with comical, scientific results. 5. The Addams Family. To begin with, this 90s masterpiece has an incredibly talented cast. Angelica Houston, Raul Julia, and others compile a mini dream team in this dark comedy. Filled with hysterical dark humor and surreal goth throughout, it will put you into a Halloween mood for sure. 4. Gremlins. The director of this 80s classic, Joe Dante, who will probably never be remembered for any of his other films, should get an honorary award for showing the world how to make a dark, twisted, inventive, and violent movie that actually manages to be somewhat children-friendly. Some way, somehow, this absolutely entertaining film works as a horror, comedy, and family film simultaneously, and the greatest thing is that you can watch it on Halloween, Christmas, or any other season for that matter. 3. FRANKENWEENIE. Tim Burton delivered a monstrously cute, enjoyable, and heartwarming animated film of the kind only he could make. FRANKENWEENIE has the ability to draw on the audience's personal nostalgia for their own furry lost loved ones, but even if you don't like dogs, you'll still enjoy this film. 2. Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters is one of the best and most popular comedy sci-fi films ever. Bill Murray stars as Professor Peter Venkman, who leads a team of geeky intellectuals against some crazy and hilarious ghosts. This truly is the ideal movie for all of the family on a Halloween night. And 1. Casper. Casper is truly the epitome of a sweet Halloween movie. The script is full of humor, the special effects are fun to watch, and the strong performances by Bill Pullman and Christina Ricci add a lot of quality to this well-written Halloween film. If you like what you just saw, consider pressing that orange subscribe button on the upper right-hand corner of your screen. And if you want more awesome lists, check out our 25 most dangerous hikes, treks, and climbs on Earth, and our 25 interesting beer facts that will leave you tipsy.